the economy and on the president's plan for that, we saw the outline on day one that he was looking to add 10 million jobs in 10 months and wants to create 1 million new small businesses. But we haven't heard a lot of details on that. Do you know any of the details, and will he talk about that tonight?
I think he will, Melissa. Great to be with you. And I think it's going to be a lot of the policies that he put in place in his first term. I know I've talked to him many times. He does want to do this payroll tax cut for the rest of the year. That's a really important priority with him, and that's one of the sticking points between the White House and Pelosi. But he also wants to make these tax cuts permanent. He wants to move forward with the energy policies of making America energy independent. And you can't think of an issue, Melissa, where the two parties clash more than in their vision on energy, where Trump wants to use our oil and gas and coal and nuclear power, and the Democrats want to use solar power and wind power. So that's a big one. I would add one other one that I think is really interesting. It's emerged as a big issue this fall, obviously, because of the school year starting this week and next, which is Trump really wants to get these schools open, and he's really very much probably the strongest advocate of school choice, of letting the dollars go to the parents and the families, not the school blob, of any presidential candidate in 30 or 40 years.
Yeah, but we haven't seen movement on that. I mean, is there a chance he could get something done on the school choice front?
Democrats hate the idea because the Democrats are ruled by teachers' unions, and so they put teachers' unions' concerns ahead of those of the children. But Trump is even talking, Melissa, about trying to find a way to do this without Nancy Pelosi's opposition. So, there is some talk of taking money in the Department of Education budget and reallocating unspent money to give the money to parents in school districts that aren't open. I happen to love that idea. I think the American people would love that idea. It's very popular.
Can he do that?
Well, we will see, right? I mean, that would be legally challenged. But, what I believe he should do, what I've told the president, is assert the authority to do this. We're in an economic emergency. We're in an education emergency. Do it, Mr. President. Be like Franklin Roosevelt and assume these powers. And if Pelosi wants to sue him for, cutting the payroll tax, or for, giving parents an ability to send their kids to school, go ahead, let her do it.
Yeah, well, every time you see a headline that the president is out to cut Social Security and Medicare and Medicaid spending, and you wonder where that's coming from, it's the idea that he wants to cut the payroll tax. So that's how they translate that into something to use against him. Let me ask you, though, overall, his economic message has been...
Can I just say one thing about what you said, Melissa, because it's an important point. So, if people go to our website, committee-to-unleash-prosperity.org, you will see on that website, we have on tape, Melissa, on tape, we have Barack Obama, Joe Biden, Chuck Schumer, Nancy Pelosi, every leading Democrat 10 years ago saying cutting the payroll tax is the best possible thing we can do for the American worker. Best thing. It's going to help all class workers. And they also say back then, this will not hurt Social Security. Joe Biden is on tape saying that. So the question is, Joe Biden, if it didn't hurt the Social Security Trust Fund back when Obama did it, why is it going to hurt the trust fund when Trump does it? I mean, they're saying exactly the opposite of what they said 10 years ago.
Well, that's how politicians work. Steve Moore, thank you. We look forward to tonight.
That's true.
You have a good seat. I'm jealous.